Hey everyone, welcome back. So today is Wednesday, and as promised, Bit Digital Deep Dive is in this video. So it took me a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take to figure out all the numbers for them, but there's a lot of moving parts with Bit Digital. They obviously were largely in China for a long time. Obviously with the China ban that happened last year, they had an exodus from there. They had to move all their miners, and so they ended up selling their miners. They got rid of some miners that were just old. So there was a lot of numbers that I had to crunch through here. So we'll get into all the numbers as always. But first, not financial advice. You know the drill here. I'm invested in the following companies and coins. So let's get into Bit Digital here. So here's Bit Digital's website. And there's our website. So they are obviously a Bitcoin mining company, but mostly they are, they don't have any of their own infrastructure. They have basically signed up with hosting providers for the mining equipment, and they've been getting those installed a little bit slower than I was thinking they're going to get those installed. But they obviously do have quite a bit of pretty large, not large, a good size hash rate going on right now. They're stating about 1.6, and they also have some more that they're buying as well. So we'll get into all the numbers here, but we'll just do a generic overview of what's going on with them. We'll take a look at some numbers here along with their presentation that they provided just a couple of weeks ago. And so their Bitcoin mining, obviously, dedicated mining operations house, one of the leading currently owned and operated Bitcoin mining fleets in the world. They don't have any of their own infrastructure. I think all of it stuff is, like I said, hosted by somebody else, but correct me if I'm wrong. Everything that I've read, it seems like they're having everything be hosted for them. So currently 1.6 exahash is what they're supposed to be at. They are not at this right now. They are only at about 39% of that. Total number of miners is about 28,745. I think this also includes their Ethereum miners that they have from InnoSilicon. Bitcoin's mined 3,575. This is what they have probably mined through inception. But they obviously don't have that in the HODL right now also. So this is kind of also misleading a little bit, I think. They do obviously stated here the total number of Bitcoins earned since our inception through 12/31/21. They had some pretty good quarters last year and the year before where they were mining a lot, but ever since the exodus from China, their numbers have gone way down, and I think that's why it's really concerning for investors. And then obviously we have the news here on them. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff. So mining. So institutional quality Bitcoin mining operations are diversified across the U.S. By strategically partnering with specialized hosting providers, we remain nimble to respond to evolving conditions, assess attractively priced and carbon-free power, and avoid significant infrastructure investment. Right. So they're not doing their own infrastructure, which is, I think, causing them delays in getting the miners installed that were transferred over from China to the hosting providers. And let's see, Bitcoin mining, we covered that, and this is all pretty much, I think, the same thing. Yeah. So locations that they're in, and that's basically on their hosting part. So 2020 in February, founding of Bit Digital and commencement of Bitcoin mining operations. Some of the milestones: launched 6,004 micro BTCs with a total hash rate of 300 petahash. So there's a lot of older stuff here, October, December, and then we're getting into the newer stuff that's happening here. And number of Bitcoins received. So obviously you can see here in 2021 Q1. Huge number by them, 1,013 in Q1. Q2, you can see, has dropped, and that's when the exodus started to happen, along with Q3 of last year and then Q4. So obviously a huge drop from where they were. Hadn't things gone the way they did, they could have been obviously making a heck of a lot more, but because the exodus happened, they had to move all their operations. That has caused them a lot of grief and a lot of downturn in production, unfortunately. Let's take a look at it here. So this is their latest presentation to investors. Obviously, these are not their own infrastructure, so we're looking at hosting providers from where their machines are basically installed right now. So Bit Digital highlights is a leading North American Bitcoin miner focused on sustainability, so large-scale operations. Bit Digital is an institutional scale digital asset miner with a fleet of 38,475 specialized computers diversified across 4 states in the U.S. This is actually not correct. It's 20-some thousand, and then they obviously also have an order for 10,000 of the Bitmain Antminers S19 Pros, I believe. So that's total number there. Deployed right now is a lot less. We'll get into the numbers though. 2.6 exahash is their basically future operations, not the current. Right now they're about 511 petahash right now. So a big difference from that. Capital efficient, so BitDigital maximizes return on energy and return on investment by focusing investment on mining assets while leveraging strategic partnerships for access to physical infrastructure and low energy costs, so ROE, I'm guessing. Position for growth, BitDigital is accelerating its expansion with proprietary channels to access miners, circumventing industry bottlenecks, and pre-negotiated hosting capacity. Again, 38,475 miners owned and announced purchased, so they at least got it right there. Sustainability focused, BitDigital is running 67% of its miners on carbon-free energy. Don't have, or at least I haven't seen any proof on that, but there might be some proof on that. And their cost is basically 0.037 kilowatts or per kilowatt hours, average power cost, which isn't too bad considering everything that's going on. Veteran team. So BitDigital is led by seasoned finance and technology professionals based in New York City with deep experience in digital assets and mining. And then obviously how much they have mined. They have successfully completed full exit of miners from China to North America in Q3 of 2021. Current fleet is now 100% in North America. It is in North America, but it isn't plugged in and running. So that's the other part of it here. So self-mine BTC, BitDigital over the long term, yes, if you include all the numbers, obviously here, going back a couple quarters, couple years, they have mined that much. They don't obviously hold that much. Argo is at 2,000. Marathon is at 3,534. They're much higher now. Riot is also pretty high, but they had a lot of it. And Core Scientific is actually higher than that as well right now. So how did they get there? So we have all of their information here. I'm not going to bore you guys with all this stuff. You guys can take a look at it yourselves. Just trying to find all the kind of interesting tidbits here. Infrastructure. And I think that's about it. So obviously they've partnered with Foundry, Compute North, Core Scientific, DigiHost, Block Fusion. They did announce a while back, I think it was for 2 exahash, split revenue with DigiHost. Haven't heard any updates on that one recently in the press releases or anything like that, so I don't know what's going to happen with that or if that's still happening. If you guys know anything about that, please let me know down in the comments below. And that might be part of the 5.3 exahash combined. So right now, expansion capacity is this part here, the 82 megawatts. Current fleet and announced purchases is 122. So this is going to obviously represent current hash rate. So they're saying hash rate per unit. Oh, this is if they were in hash rate per unit S19G Pros 100 terahash. So implied fleet expansion would be 2.7. Current hash rate pro forma would be 2.6. Pro forma hash rate 5.34 if they got it all up to here. But yeah, right now their miners are nowhere near that 100 terahash mark there. And ESG leader. Strong Bitcoin cash flow. Let's see here. If all miners were deployed today and Bitcoin price was 45,000, right? So that's the 37,000. That's correct. They would be at 1.4% of the global Bitcoin hash rate. They'd be generating 12.4, but they're obviously not installed all right now. Projected revenue would be 16.8 million a month. That is true, but they're, like I said again, they're not installed there. So we won't delve too much into it. Here's the latest report from them that I was able to come up with. So March 15th, this is their production and mining operation updates for the fourth quarter of 2021. And here is the important part of it. Right there. So 39.2% of the currently owned fleet of 10,462 Bitcoin miners and 712 Ethereum miners representing 0.51 exahash, which is basically 511 petahash. And let me see if I can zoom this in for you guys, maybe a little bit more, make it easier. And then they have also 0.188 terahash of Ethereum mining, basically respectively. Was deployed in North America as of the date of this press release, which was on March 15th. In December, basically they are saying here 27.8% of our fleet, or 7,710 Bitcoin miners representing 0.457 exahash, was deployed in North America as of December 31st. So at the end of December 31st, they had basically had 457 petahash. Now they have pretty much towards the middle of March, they have 511 petahash. That would be an increase of about 60, 50, what is that, 43 and 1154 petahash basically being installed. So not a lot of growth there in that time frame. They also obviously provided here that they do have on October 7th, they purchased, sent an agreement with Bitmain Technologies to purchase 10,000 Bitcoin miners. The purchases are expected to increase BitDigital's maximum hash rate by approximately 1 exahash. Pro forma with these announced purchases, our maximum total hash rate is expected to be approximately 2.6 exahash. All right. So those are the kind of numbers that we're dealing with here. And I'm going to show you the numbers that I started dealing with when, going back through all of their press releases, SEC filings, and everything else, what I was dealing with there. And this is March 15th. It's the same thing that we already covered. I also checked on their Twitter pages, see if they had anything new. And they reported here on April 9th that they are still at 39.2 of their current owned fleet, which was deployed in North America as of mid-March. So they're still at that. They haven't really changed anything, haven't had anything installed, which is really, really surprising. But I'm trying to figure out what kind of issues are they having that they can't get miners installed, especially since you're going to hosting companies, which I would think would have, begin those miners installed for you. But that's neither here nor there. So let's take a look at the numbers I have for them. I'll try to explain it as best I can. And then I'm going to ask you guys, obviously, there's some issues with BitDigital as far as not providing monthly updates and things like that. So I'm going to really ask you guys, do you want me to cover them going forward? Because the data, we're just not getting there monthly. We're getting the data maybe every quarter or so as far as expansion goes, anything like that. So we'll talk about it, though. All right, so let's take a look at the numbers here. So starting back to a release that they did, press release on 9/17 of 2020, they reported that they had basically 22,869 miners. They were at 1.25 exahash on it. Then later on, 12/4/20, they reported buying somebody out for another basically 1 exahash of speed, which was 17,000 miners or so. So here's that information on that. So the closing of the acquisition represents the total hash rate of the company's increase by approximately 1 exahash from 1.25 exahash to 2.25 exahash. The total is 17,996 miners acquired, includes 7, and then it just goes on to what it includes. And this goes into their efficiency. So this was to be fully installed at the end of December 2020. So they were going to be basically at 2.25 exahash right there in 2020. And then we get news in, April 6th of 21. We get that they purchased an additional 4,871 new purchased miners, are primarily composed of Bitmain N17 pluses, Bitmain S17s, and that obviously has the hash rates on these miners range from 60 to 110 petahash, which was based on the numbers they provide. Well, the Pro 19 miners could be, but it was anywhere between there, and basically got them up to about, on average, about 66 terahash in the miners there. That brought them up to a total of basically 2.58 exahash with 45,736 miners at that time. Now, at that time, we also had the news right around April, May, that China was going to be banning Bitcoin mining in China. And then we get the news, obviously, here on July 13th in 2021. And here's what the company has now reported. So the company owned 32,500 miners as of June 30th, 2021, with a maximum total hash rate of 1.92 exahash. The 0.34 exahash reduction from the first quarter was due to a fleet repositioning in which the company sold or disposed of certain models in anticipation of purchase opportunities for newer, more efficient machines. The company recognized a small gain on miner sales and expects to reinvest sale proceeds of $5.4 million into purchases of newer vintage miners. That's kind of strange there. I didn't catch that the first time around. Vintage, I'm guessing used miners, since they're using vintage, they're there. So they were basically at 45. They came down to 32,000 with 1.92 exahash and an average speed of about 59 terahash per miner. And then we obviously got word in December, so I'm kind of jumping over a little bit here. that they got 731 Ethereum miners. But back here is the story on the purchase of the 10,000 miners from Bitmain, which is going to lead them to basically 1 exahash. And then the latest report here we have of the miners that are actually here. So they represent, I don't think if they say it here, but basically 39.2% of our currently owned fleet, or 10,462 Bitcoin miners and 712 Ethereum miners, representing 0.511 exahash and 0.188 terahash, respectively, was deployed in North America as of date of this press, which was the 3/15, and then obviously the 27% was installed in end of December. So here's the numbers that I got for that. So right now, that represented basically 7,710 miners being installed at the end of December. Then they installed some more between December and March. Don't know exactly how many each month in January and March, but basically got them up to here, to March, to basically mine for 20 days. And that equates to about 2,752 miners. So combined, that is the 10,462 miners being installed right now. They still have 17,282 miners that need to be installed that are approximately 63 terahash, 63 terahash miners. The miners that were installed between January and February, based on what they provided as far as their petahashes or exahash, depending which one they used, I got that at 19.7 terahash, which is really, really small. I mean, those still are making some money, but you can see that they're only making like $4 a day per miner compared to $12 here on these other miners. And then obviously these will be a little bit more profitable along with the 1,000 miners. So currently I have them at 511 petahash installed. You can see it down here. I don't know if hopefully this is big enough for you guys. 511 petahash right now. They still have about 1.08 exahash to get installed. They do also have the one exahash of the end miners here to get installed as well. And then they reported on 4/7/22 that the revising agreement replaces and extends the terms of a previous agreement for additional 5 years and provides for approximately 6.5 megawatts of hosting capacity for 2,000 miners. The previously hosted equipment will be upgraded to new Bitmain End miners S19 Pro miners. So I'm guessing those are going to be the 100 terahash miners. So that will obviously take out, I'm hoping to take out these over here, the really, really low terahash ones, almost 20 terahash here on these. So I hope that kind of clears things up where we are with everything. All of these up here numbers are going to be gone. I'm actually going to delete those right now because they are no longer valid. Those are all gone. Provided, and then obviously we still have 731 of the Ethereum miners. We got 712 installed right now, so that's where we are. As far as these numbers here are concerned for the Ethereum miners, I looked on what2mine.com, put in the numbers as far as these are, I believe, the 750 mega hash miners from Silicon A10s. Those were reporting today that they were making basically $29 a day, so that's kind of what I'm using through January, February, and March. It was probably a little bit less than that on those days. Those months, Ethereum was down in price from January and February and has been obviously going up. But I'm just going to go with that. It's not that much of a difference on it, I don't think. Even if we go down to, let's just go $25 on these. And then we'll go 27 here on these. Just to kind of make things a little bit more accurate, I would think. Okay, so I looked back through the last 3 quarterly reports. They don't have the quarterly reports yet for Q4. They did provide that they mined basically 247.02 BTC for that quarter, which is October, November, December. And that represents, I'm guessing, approximately of 11.4 million in revenue using the price of Bitcoin at the end of December, which was around 45,000. We can look at it here really quick here. What did I use? I used 43,000. Oh, geez. So, January through March, December, 46,000 was the price that I used on that one, just to make it even. And so they got us to 11 million here. So this is an estimate. This is not the actual amount provided. They did provide 10.4 million in revenue in Q3. Q2 was 28.3 million. So for a combined total of, what is that? 50.1 million roughly of revenue for the last 3 quarters. And then if we include this current quarter, we're looking at approximately 59.9 million possibly of what they're going to be making. Some other things, obviously, we don't know what they produced in March, February, or January. They didn't provide those numbers for us. They don't do the monthly updates, like I said, which is unfortunate. It would be nice for them to do that since they are part of the Bitcoin Mining Council now. So hopefully they start providing those numbers on a monthly basis. But we can also see that the price of Bitcoin has, not price of Bitcoin, their stock price has been going way down. We'll take a look at the actual stock performance here in a little bit. But today they were at about $2.93, and I have to update this, I believe. I did this during the middle of the day, so it might be a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but right around 293. Based on the information that I have for them as far as what they're mining here, and then the additional miners that are coming in here in March, which is a little bit, basically 54 petahash, I'm showing, and then here's the other tricky part, is since they are having all of their miners being hosted, should we be using more of the 50% instead of the 75% net income from gross revenue, because they are going to be paying more in hosting fees and everything else. I don't know. We'll have to see, obviously, how that works out. I have to look at some more of the numbers. But I'm using the price earnings multiple of 10 right now, and that would get us to about $4.30 on them. And if we're using 75%, we'd be at $6.45 on the numbers. I think that is even possibly even high on that. They're going to be growing quite nicely, but the problem that I'm seeing is here they're having a problem executing on what they already have. They have a lot of miners. They're just not getting those things installed fast enough. I don't know what's going on there. If you guys have an insight on that, let me know. I'd be happy to hear it. But based on that, I would say at the most between $3 and $5 currently with everything that's installed and the Bitcoin price of right now at 40,900. Obviously, Bitcoin goes up, you could be asking a lot more for it. Bitcoin goes down, you could be asking a lot less for it. So my three concerns with them are obviously a very small increase in hash rate from the end of December to March. As you can see here, that is one major worry that I have with them. And then no monthly production updates. Old miners, they do have a lot of these older miners that are 60 terahash. Some of these are coming up as basically 20 terahash up here. So those have to get definitely swapped out, sold out, get rid of those as fast as you can, and then see if you can, obviously get the newer miners like the 100 terahash from Antminer or somebody else, or even new Intel miners or something that are supposed to be less expensive. So those are my three things that concern me. And then going forward for you guys, obviously I can't do this on a monthly basis with them because they don't provide the numbers for each month. So I can continue doing this, and I'll just provide them when they provide any updates. So there might be every couple months, every quarter or something like that. But it's really hard to figure out where they could be and what they actually should be making and stuff like that. It gets a little bit more harder to basically value them properly because we don't know what the incremental increases are each month, or if there are any increases at all. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would say that they are fairly to maybe a little bit undervalued right now based on what I'm seeing, but it also depends if can they execute on getting those doggone miners installed. They got a lot of them. They should be getting those installed. So that's just my call. All right, let me know what you guys thought. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, spreadsheets available to Patreon members. And the only thing I ask of you guys is to hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And thanks you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.